Hi, this is Alessio, Rastani of Leading Trader. Hope you're well, and welcome to this week's update on Bitcoin. What I want to do in this video is firstly show you an analysis of where we are in Bitcoin and also where we could potentially be heading next. So before we do that, I just want to firstly show you this, because in last week's video, and it's always a good idea to go back and see what we said in the previous video and see how accurate our projections were to reality. So in that video last week, here's what I said. So in last week's video, what I said was that I was looking for a three-wave correction, a three-wave move on Bitcoin into these levels, into 5,200 to 5,000 levels as support, and then for a move higher to 6,000. If you take a look right now on the chart of Bitcoin, you will see that's exactly what's happened so far. We made that ABC, that's wave A, B, C. Corrective move, A, B, C, which by the way, C wave, the C wave completed on the 55 moving average. You see this purple line on my chart? I always have this purple line, this 55 exponential moving average on my chart, because that gives you a good level of support on the market. In fact, take a look over here. Just back in early October, once again, we formed a support right bang on the 55 EMA, as we did over here. So we completed wave ABC, or wave 4. So let me just mark that. If that's our potential wave 4, potential wave 3, and this means this is our wave 5. And for those of you not familiar with what I'm talking about here in Elliott waves, this is based on Elliott wave theory, that markets trend in 5 waves. And in other words, after our completion of wave 4, we begin our wave 5. After wave 5, this is very interesting, and I want you to pay attention to this, because once wave 5 completes, all right, we should be then ready and prepared for a sizable correction. In other words, a sizable ABC corrective move. And why is that important? Because certainly if you've made a profit and if you are in a trade right now on Bitcoin, then you want to make sure you have an exit strategy, or you want to make sure you are protecting your gains, the profits you've already made, in case a market suddenly goes against you. So you got to have an exit strategy, not just an entry strategy. Okay, so that's why it's important to look at Elliott waves to give you a better idea of what markets could be doing next. Now I want to show you this. Take a look. Under the chart, you will see that the MACD, this indicator you see here, is showing divergence, as is the RSI. So what is divergence, or what is bearish divergence? Bearish divergence means simply that as the market makes a new high, here Bitcoin makes a new higher high, but notice the MACD makes a lower high. It does not do the same thing that Bitcoin does. Same with RSI. RSI makes a lower high. This is what's called negative or bearish divergence. It is a warning that this trend, this market trend higher, is potentially weakening, certainly a weakening of the force of this upward trend. Now, remember, a divergence does not mean necessarily that the market has to drop afterwards. No. In fact, I'll show you in a few moments that a divergence can be negated by price action. But what we use divergence for is, number one, to identify the wave count, but also to prepare ourselves against a move that could go against us. Alright, so let me show you on this chart that I have here. Here I'm using the charts of ETX Capital, purely because I find them a lot easier to toggle and use. Alright, and so what I'm using here on this 4-hour time frame, as you can see here, I put on the 4-hour time frame of Bitcoin. And again, I'm using my 2 moving averages on my chart. By the way, if you don't already know this, you can put moving averages on your chart very easily by going to Studies and then choosing Exponential Moving Average. There it is, Exponential Moving Average. And then simply choosing the 21. You just choose 21 moving average here. And then you change the thickness and the color and everything else that you want there. Okay, it's very simple. And you will see that even on the 4-hour time frame, we had support on the price of Bitcoin right there on the 55 EMA. Okay, so here's what we need to be watching here right now on this chart. Firstly, as I mentioned before, this is potentially our ABC corrective wave. All right, in other words, probably our wave 4. In other words, this is a probable wave 3, and this is our probable wave 5. Notice I'm saying probable wave 4, 5, and 3. Why? Because remember that in chart analysis and in market analysis, it's all about probabilities. It's not about certainties. All right, nothing is set in stone, but these are there to provide us with an edge, to increase our probability. And it's important to be very flexible with your expectations. Always remember these two rules, which is that be rigid with your rules, but be flexible with your expectations, as Mark Douglas said in his book, Trading in the Zone. All right, now here's what you need to be paying attention to next. Firstly, at the moment, the Bitcoin market here has pulled back in the last couple of days to this support, but has managed to bounce off this support as well. Now you can't see it on the chart, but it's certainly that's what happened so far. We've got a divergence here, a bit of a warning, but here's the thing. If Bitcoin manages to rally past last week's highs, which I think is quite likely, if we go and close above these highs we made last week, then this divergence, this negative divergence, will be negated, in which case the next levels will be potentially 6,200, 6,300. However, pay very close attention to these support levels at 5,600. Because if we close, and again, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if Bitcoin closes below 5,600, the next levels to pay attention to is 5,400 and certainly this previous low that it formed at 5,200. A close below 5,200 will mean that we could see a much more serious correction on Bitcoin. In other words, that ABC corrective wave that I talked to you about here on this chart. All right, but at the moment, I think it's much more likely we're going to continue seeing further strength, a bit more further upside in this wave 5. But again, remember, when this wave 5 completes, and we will see it complete, we ought to be prepared for a much more sizable correction, the ABC corrective wave. And again, I'll update you on that when the time comes. Alright guys, before I finish this video, I just want to answer one common question which I get about Bitcoin, which is what is a low risk way to trade Bitcoin without actually owning Bitcoin itself? And the answer to that is very simple. On the ETX Trader Pro platform, which we quite like, you can actually trade Bitcoin either with CFDs or spread betting. Again, you can take positions, buy a long position or a short position here. And also you can reduce your risk. So you can actually go here in the quantity section and reduce your risk as low as like 10 pence per point, or same thing in dollars as well. So in other words, you can go on the Trader Pro platform on ETX and reduce your position size, reduce your risk, and trade Bitcoin with less risk and also a lot more simpler than having to purchase Bitcoin itself. Alright guys, so the link for that is leadingtrader.com/ETX, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, then please remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please remember to subscribe to our channel. You can also find me on my website, which is leadingtrader.com. Thanks very much.